Hello friends and welcome back to my channel. My name is Caitlin from Florals.com and today we have another episode of Summer of Stories. So if you guys are not caught up, every week this summer I'm uploading 2 process videos, each one associating with a different letter of the alphabet, and today's letter T. And the theme for this particular layout is called Top of the World, which is the place we are in this photo. So I pulled out this Pink Fresh Studio paper from the BU collection, I believe, and it's got these beautiful deep tone colors. You got that like rusty red, that mustard yellow, and then a dark teal and like a medium shade teal. So I'm going to go through my How to Kill a Kit with Style kit, which is purely embellishments this month, supplemental materials. And I'll have that link down below in case you guys are interested in seeing what I have for this month's kit. But I'm using some of the papers from one paper each from Goldenrod collection from One Canoe 2 and one 6x6 from Heidi Swap Emerson Lane as the layers for my photo. Nothing too crazy, just 2 photo layers. And for this month, I'm focusing on stamping. So you can see I have my stamps pulled out there off to the right, and I'll be using those on my pages for the month and hopefully beyond, but definitely focusing on them this month, and I've really been enjoying stamping. Here I'm using some ribbon that was in my kit, and I figured I don't really have a yellow that matches this background, but I do have this ribbon that matches really well. So instead of trying to stamp a background that matches, I'll just use the ribbon to add a little bit more texture and a little bit more fun to the background here. And I do apologize that the color does get blown out a little bit here. It focuses in and out based on facial tracking, and since there's a photo there, it's got dark tones in it, it does tend to lighten up everything else. As you can see here, I am going through my inks to try to decide what colors I want to stamp with. So I've pulled out 2. One is a Hampton Arts ink, and that is like a dye-based ink. So I don't think they really have colors on these. They come in packs of 4 with different color sets, but I didn't see any color name on here, so I apologize for that. So I'm going to use this back of the 6x6 paper to test out the color. Not a perfect match to the background color, but one that will go nicely with it, so I'm content with that one. And then the next one is a distress ink, and if you guys have ever stamped with distress inks, you'll know that they're not the best stamping ink. They're meant for blending, watercoloring, but they're not good for stamping images. This one does fine, and I think it will work well. And that's the color Worn lipstick, and those are the first time I'm using both of those inks, so that's even better for bashing my stash and using the things I already have, although I believe that is a newer ink to my stash. That Worn lipstick is one of the newest sets that I added, which is fine. I'm glad I'm using it. So I have this Heidi Swap stamp set out, and I know I want to use that arrow, but I know I need another stamp set. I looked through the ones in my kit, and a lot of them don't have images that are thin enough to fit in between the stripes, like the idea I want to pull off. So I end up going back to my stamp sets and bringing out this one, which is a basic gray set. And yes, I used to store my stamps in CD cases, and a lot of them are still like that, but it's just the way they were, and that's probably how I'll keep them until I get rid of them. I do have all the packaging, so I could go back and, re-put them in, but probably not going to do that. So here I am stamping my image, and I apologize, my head keeps popping in, but I wanted to tell you guys, when you're stamping a pattern, a background, in between stripes, whatever you're doing, make sure that your pattern goes off the page a little bit. So see, with the arrows, you saw that I stamped off the page, using that 6x6 scrap to cover up the ink that won't go on the page, but it worked really, really well to look like it's part of the original layout. And then here I'm using that teal ink from Hampton Arts to use these little chevron border and make a fun little stripe of that. So I believe this is my second time working with the Hampton inks that I do have, so this is the second color I've ever worked with, and I will say I really like the colors of these inks. However, they're very messy. They almost act like a chalk ink to me, and I haven't worked with many dye-based inks, but I don't find them to be like that most of the time. But let me know what your favorite inks are in the comments down below. I think I want to start trying some new ones. I'm a big fan of the distress inks because I can use them for watercoloring, I can use them for all sorts of stuff, and for card making, blending backgrounds, all of that. But I'm not sure what brand to start using for like stamping, those stamp sets that are like layered flowers, or like what you like to stamp with for images, colored. And I also really need a good navy and a good gray ink because I don't have a navy and a gray that I really like. So if you have any recommendations for those specifically, please leave them down below. My favorite black ink is Diversifying Black. Super favorite right now. I also have used, what's that other one I like to use? Mento Black's really good as well. But as for colored inks, I don't have a lot of experience with those, so let me know in the comments what yours are. So here I am trimming down the sides of the paper layers underneath my photo, and I kept everything else simple about this layout pretty much. We already have the, crazy angle that we're putting the photo at, which I debated for a long time. And if you'd like to hear more about this design process, making the photo on a diagonal, the embellishments on a diagonal, all of that, I do have a real-time process video for my patrons over on Patreon of this layout. So if you're interested in that, check that out. I'll have it linked down below. And you guys can, get more real-time process videos, get just additional videos, and all sorts of fun stuff over there. So I'm using embellishments from the same kit as the background paper, so that's Pink Fresh Studio BU, and I'm also looking at the rest of my kit here. But like I said, I keep it relatively simple. What you see here is like mostly the finished product. I end up finding one of these Jen Hadfield washi strip books, and this orange polka dot really spoke to me, so I ended up pulling that out. Again, not a perfect match, but I liked it enough to use it. I figured I could add a little extra pop of color. I could use another item in my stash kit. Why not use it? And guess what? It wasn't long enough. These are not 12 by 12 strips, so it looks a little bit funny, but it works out in the end just fine. And I tried to use more of the One Canoe 2 embellishments, but the colors just were slightly off in a way that was off-putting if you put it on layout, if that makes sense. So I decided not to use many of those. I do use this one that says Be Happy in a burnt orange, which totally is not a color on this layout, but I make it work anyway. And then I also pull out a tab from that Illustrated Faith set, and it's just a light teal at the top, and that's what ends up sticking out on the top of my photo. And like I said, this place is called Top of the World, so that's why it's episode T of Summer of Stories, but if you want to look at a whole list of ideas for letter T, head over to my blog to get the free printable with so many different ideas associated with the letter T. And I have printables for every letter of the alphabet up till this point also on my blog, so make sure you check those out as well. Now the title is where a big struggle came in, and I do fast forward this part quite a bit because it takes so long. But I pull out these Pink Fresh Studio alphabets from the same collection. They'll match perfectly. It's going to be great. I realized since I had a lot of repeat letters, I would have to use some different colors for different words, which I'm usually not okay with, but this time I thought it'd be fine. So I start trying to spell these words, and then I realized that some of the letters don't have every color, so I really need to plan out which words are going to be which color so I know I have enough alphabets in that color to spell out that word. And like I said, this title is just Top of the World. That made the most sense to me. That was where we were. I thought about matching the middle section, so of and the would be the same color, and then top and world could be the same color, but no, that would not work out well. So what I ended up doing is yellow is of, red, actually it's more of like the orange color is the, and then red is the word top, and then the dark teal is the world. And I knew I wanted to use dark teal. I think it just pops a lot on this layout, especially since it's like one of the colors that's not as prevalent as the others. And again, here's the camera blown out, super white, but it's still, it fixes itself every now and then, so the colors are a little bit more realistic. And I will have all the photos over on my blog, so you guys can check those out. So that is kind of how everything ends up laying out. I'm going to glue everything down because I still hadn't glued down my photo or my embellishment pieces here. And I did pull out a small sticker from that sticker book that just says hello. And then there's that tab I mentioned earlier, and that is from Illustrated Faith. But here are some close-ups of the finished layout. But before I do that, I thought I could add a couple more things. So what I ended up doing is looking for some enamel dots that would be, matching this collection. I do not have ones that actually do match this collection, so I end up going with some that I have from different things. So I have some teal ones from Whimsy Stamps, and then I go with this peach color, which are from Pink Fresh Studio, but a different collection. And that is the final look on this page. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. I would absolutely love it if you also visited my blog. But thanks again so much for watching, and I hope you guys enjoyed. See you next time. Bye!